So this is basically an enabler for us to provide the services for a range of markets. So when I'm talking about the services is basically if you only have a receiver with the normal GPS, you get approximately 10-meter error of location precision. So these errors are coming from the systems, but also from atmosphere. So they are divided on ephemeris data, satellite clock error, ionosphere, troposphere. So what we basically do is that we eliminate this error, and by that we enable the precise position down to the few centimeters accuracy. So this precise positioning is one of the, let's say, core infrastructures for automated and connected vehicles, but also machines. So we do not act only on the automotive and the mobility market, but these services are integrated in all sorts of automated vehicles, so also airborne vehicles, ground robotic systems, industrial applications, mobile IoT. So today I will focus mostly on automated vehicles. So automated vehicles, we know that this is a topic that is closely related to electromobility, and Luca nicely presented how the different vehicle requirements are changing. So they're changing on the vehicle design, but they're also changing in terms of the operations of the vehicles. So there are more and more use cases that demand for information about the location that is more precise of what the current systems enable. So the more, the higher precision that I'm talking about is precision below 0.5 meter or below 10 centimeters. So this is how we define the high precision positioning. So the use cases that demand for this precision are, some of them are named here. So vulnerable road user collision warning, high definition sensor sharing and map sharing, teleoperated driving that includes also the parking and group start, and also communication with the infrastructure and automated intersection crosses. So these are all the use cases that are accepted by the industry to have the need to support really high precision positioning. And of course, if you do not have the support for these use cases, you are not able to enable mass adoption of autonomous driving. We know that we need, for autonomous driving, we need to support these corner cases that could enable or that could lead to some critical occurrences. So when we talk about the correction services and what is the need, what does the correction service need to provide for these applications is one, it needs to be enabled on the continental scale. So when we had only the specific sectors buying the correction services, it was okay if only a certain region was covered by the contract. But when you're selling the correction services to an OEM, and the OEM does not know where the vehicle will be operated, it's very important that the service is available on the continental scale. So that's one thing. The second one is that you need to have homogeneous performance, which basically means that you have the same performance everywhere. Also, the accuracy is typically, as mentioned, below 10 centimeters, but it's not only a question of accuracy, but it needs to be a combination of high accuracy and also high convergence time. So what basically convergence time means is that vehicle is able to really quickly get the signal, and this should be in a matter of seconds. The third thing is service availability. So typically the correction services are transmitted through the IP network, so through the internet access, but this is not always the case. So if we want to make sure that autonomous vehicles are operating everywhere in the world, we need to ensure that autonomous vehicles have the access to these services everywhere. And this means that we need to enable redundant signals. And typically, this is a use of L-band communication. If I continue with, let's say, even more newly requirements is when it comes to the mass adoption, it's very important that you keep the cost of the application lower. So decreasing the bandwidth is very crucial because we know that, especially in the autonomous and connected mobility, there is a lot of data that is being transmitted and you need to optimize on every point. And then there are two requirements that are especially needed when you come to the higher level of autonomous driving, and that is the functional safety and integrity. So this basically means that you have a trust that the system will always perform, and that you have a trust that the system will let you know when it's not performing as expected. So currently, there are two solutions on the market. I will not go into the details, but basically, one of the solutions is called RTK network. The second one is PPP services. It all has some benefits and all have some limitations. So basically, what our solution provides is, we call it the best of both worlds. So best of PPP and RTK. So how we enable the signal delivery is that we gather information from the GNSS satellites. So these are information about the satellite orbit, satellite clock, satellite bias, ionospheric error, tropospheric error. So we gather this information and we send them to the GNSS reference station to the correction service data centers. Here the information is processed and then is sent through the open Spartan format. This is one format that is also being introduced by Subcorda and is being supported by several companies in order to liberalize the market. So using this format, we are sending the corrections to the rover. So rover is basically a vehicle or device that has a receiver and is accepting our correction services. And we send this either through IP or to the L-band. So what is crucial is to enable redundancy. So redundancy in calculations, but also we need to provide, and we provide the robustness against individual failures. So if one reference station falls down, the system needs to be robust in order to make sure that there is very high system availability. So when I'm talking about really high system availability, it's basically in 99.9%. So we make sure that this service is always available for the vehicle. And this is, of course, critical because we're talking about the safety critical applications. So we provide a different level of service. So for instance, when an OEM wants to receive these correction services, basically they subscribe to our licenses. They choose the license that suits their needs. And we also enable them and support them with the basic integration. Currently, as I mentioned, we support contiguous US and Europe, but of course it's crucial also to support other continents, so we're expanding the network. So we have now the receiver, we have the services, we have the integration. The third level is actually the system architecture. So how the services are delivered to the end rover. So here we have two levels, two possibilities. So one is through subcorda backend through the IP. The second one is again IP, but backend to backend communication. So in some cases, OEM prefer they have their own backend infrastructure. And the third option, as mentioned, is the L-band. So basically, having this infrastructure in place and results of vehicle receiving the services. And with these services, the vehicle is basically able to improve its absolute position accuracy. And this would be from, as I mentioned, meter level to the centimeter level. They also enable redundancy to the relative position. So relative position meaning being dependent on the sensors to identify what is the vehicle location. So in case the relative position sensors fail, you still have a redundant system that provides you some level of security where your vehicle is located. The third one is reducing the convergence time. So one of the critical points for autonomous vehicle is what happens when you're in a tunnel. Typically, you don't have access to IP and L-band signals, so it's really crucial that the system enables reconnection in seconds. Third one is increasing efficiency. Fourth one is increasing efficiency of operation. As discussed before, so there are many use cases for which it is crucial that you have vehicle of accuracy of below 0.5 meter or below 10 centimeters. And the last, basically, the system, it's keeping the autonomous driving system at a low cost. So the cost of having the correction services is only a fraction of the complete ADAS system cost. So with these points, basically we support the mass adoption of autonomous vehicles. And I think at this point I would conclude my presentation and let me know if you have some additional questions. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? No, okay, perfect.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Well, I'm sorry I hadn't turned on my microphone. So as I said, it was a vision of the future, and we do hope that we see these kind of applications in real fleets, vehicle fleets, or more autonomous vehicles. Well, there is a question from Luca. So at the moment to unmute you, Luca. Luca, you may pose your question.
Hi, Urška. It was a great presentation. I just have a question regarding the way how you see the evolution of the market, because let's say in my view, this is not only for autonomous vehicles. I think that, I mean, maybe I misunderstood, but there's a lot of services that will need this kind of positioning, anywhere from food delivery to anything else. And I think that it's great that your technology can complement with accuracy all sorts of mobile data stuff. So the question is, how do you see the market in your way to develop, let's say, how big is the GNSS going to be in the next years, and how important it is to the industry? So what will it enable? I think that it has great potential. So,
well, yes, I agree. Thank you for this comment. So definitely it's not only the autonomous vehicles, so it's really every device on this planet that needs to have a position that is very precise, and there is a lot and more applications that demand for that. For instance, if we're looking at autonomous vehicles, how we see the evolution. So currently, mostly focus is on testing. So there are some OEMs that are already doing the tendering, but this, for instance, high precision will come to the market only in a couple of years. So also for us, currently the focus is also on other industries. For instance, very interesting applications is the city mobility, so all the scooters and also robotic lawn mowers. But of course, as chips are becoming more and more capable, you can go down to the mobile